Okay. And 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second Tightrope Post Mortem. This evening we will be having Mr. Robb Padgett presenting Zombie Werewolf from KATR Pictures. On our panel this evening evaluating Vampire Werewolf is going to be Mr. Mark Gardner, creator, producer, director of Cell the web series and the upcoming Weird Girls. Mr. Matt Newcomb is also with us, creator, director, producer of Hollywood Wasteland, which will be finishing its first season run relatively soon. And rounding out the panel will be myself, your host, James Fernandez of Tyghtrope Pictures, creator of Vampirism Bites. This is in no way a conflict of interest because we have similar parts on our show. All right, now let's take it to our presenter, Mr. Robb Padgett. Tell us about your wonderful series, Zombie Werewolf.
It's a series called Zombie Werewolf. Premiered at the end of 2010 and ran through the middle of 2011. I think it ended on Easter of last year. So small budget show, very limited, about 10 days of shooting, and that's about all there is. Written by myself and by Steve, produced by myself, Tanya, and Steve. Tanya Einen and Steve Lukowitz.
All right. What order do you want to take this in? Do you want to ask us questions first? Do you want us to unleash upon you? What way would you prefer?
I have no clue what to even ask.
All right, then. Well, we'll start with our evaluators then. Let's first go with Mr. Matt Newcomb, creator of Hollywood Wasteland. When you are ready, sir, give Rob what you got.
All right. Well, thinking back to Zombie Werewolf, I believe the first time I met Rob was actually in Comic-Con 2010, I think, where there was a panel we were on, and I remember Rob gave out these squishy red brains with the name of his show on there, and the one thing that sparked my interest there was that he had come up with this stuff before the show was actually out, so he was promoting the show before it was going to be released, which was really cool, and I hadn't even thought about that before. Yeah, and I think you strategically planned a lot. Yeah, those things right there. That's the one. Those are really cool.
Still have a bunch of them.
Yeah. That was my first impression of Rob. But yeah, and then the stuff that I really liked was I was really impressed with the overall production quality of it. I remember when the first teaser came out, and you could kind of see like this wasn't, like a lot of the series you see online. It had some great production value, and you have an amazing DP working for you, so kudos for that. Going through the actual episodes, I remember following you guys were doing really good at releasing every week for a little while, and then I think you fell off the bandwagon a little bit for a little bit, and then I actually lost track of what was going on until I think you guys had already finished. Then I went back and just kind of watched it all straight through again. Yeah, I guess. What else was I going to say? It was really funny, really great writing. I enjoyed it. It was one of the more, I guess, the comedy was more in the writing than, you know, a lot of the physical stuff that you see a lot of. So I was really happy with that. The story was good, and I think that it suffers from the same thing a lot of shows do. I guess we kind of talked about this on Mark's show. And then when you're trying to tell like one story throughout, you know, the entire season, that sometimes the episode arcs don't leave you, I guess, as fulfilled as they would if you maybe had a longer format. Or, you know, it seemed like it would be, you know, like a feature-length thing that was kind of cut up as opposed to being, you know, here's a standalone episode. I saw it from the beginning, but I don't know how it would have worked with people that were coming in halfway in. But that was the one thing I noticed with, you know, that type of story in general, which, you know, is even the same thing my show has, and I think James does as well. That's my rough overview. I have some questions for Rob that I want to ask later, but overall, again, really impressed with the production quality of both yours and Mark's show, and you know, excellent writing in both, but both completely different as well.
We're not talking about Mark's show right now.
I'm a Rob.
I just when we replayed some of last week, I felt like it was too critical, I guess, and I just wanted to point out that they're both really good shows.
I think we were critical of Mark's because we like Mark's show.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, if it was worthless, we would just say screw it.
But this time I made a note to myself, and I said I would say more positive things about how much I liked it.
Oh, good. Well, I appreciate it.
As long as I really did like it.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, being genuine is helpful in those types of situations.
I agree.
All right, speaking of last week's Post Mortem, let's take ourselves now to Mr. Mark Gardner, creator of Cell, to get his rough overview on Vampire Zombie Werewolf. Take it away, sir.
Okay, so I had some specific things, but I want to wait until I ask Rob some specific questions till I get there. So as a general overview, I want to say how much I really loved this show. Seriously, it's hysterical. I do think it is the most meta thing I have ever seen in my life. It's almost like it was written just for me to laugh, because there's so much on there that made me laugh, and I am still impressed by your ability to work in, did you just artificially inflate the stakes and actually inflate the stake? I mean, come on, that's gold. That's gold right there. I mean, and the episode with the box, you know, the mysterious box, and I thought that was hysterical. I mean, there was so much awesome, charming stuff in there. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I do have some questions and some little things here and there that I'd love to talk about, but a lot of that depends on some things that I won't know until we talk to you. So, overall, love the show. I think it's hysterical. Considering everything, I think it's great that you guys were able to make something that looks so great over a 10-day shoot and all that. I thought it was great. I think it was very well done.
And now comes the question and answer portion of our postmortems. We're going to have our evaluators ask questions of creator Robb Padgett. And then in the second phase, we're going to have Mr. Padgett ask questions for any points of focus he has on the evaluators. So now let's take it over to Mr. Matt Newcomb of Hollywood Wasteland.
Yeah. One thing I was wondering, I guess you sort of gave a little bit, but I was curious as to the sort of history of this idea and where it came about and why you decided to do it. After meeting you, then I saw you had a few other shows that you'd done and everything. I was just wondering why that project in particular.
This will be the first I'm actually going to admit on recorded media where this idea actually came from. It came from Brett Register's show, Craig and the Werewolf.
Yeah.
That show, while entertaining, rubbed me the wrong way. And that was because it was getting a lot of attention. Back when there was no media outlet for web series, when Tube Filter was brand new, there was a lot of talk about Craig and the Werewolf, and I thought it was so strange because there was barely a show. So the idea was to do the anti-web series. To do a web series that was not a web series. Like it was going to be so completely pointless that it wasn't going to be even a show, and see if we could get people to talk about it. And it was going to be pandering the vampire, zombie, werewolf. We're going to combine them all into the three things into one and make it this blatant anti-web series show. But then, and it was kind of born out of a reaction to all these supernatural web series that were kind of getting on my nerves at the time. And then I started writing it, and I started writing the character of Bunny, and I liked it. I liked her, and I liked the dynamic we set up between Tad and Bunny, the husband and wife, and then bringing my character in as a producer of web series, and it just, once we found the story, because I conceived of the show before the story was there, it got huge. So it was supposed to be tiny. It got very large.
Cool.
So that's where the idea came from.
I was also curious about, when I saw it, I was kind of surprised, I guess, to see that it was, about making a web series. And I was wondering, I think we all enjoyed lots of the show, just from our experiences and everything. What was the response from people that didn't have that same background? Did they appreciate it as much, or did it, what did they think of that?
I think they were confused by it, actually. I don't think they knew what to think about it. Because we got a lot of strange reaction from the show from old fans that they thought we were just doing a vampire show, and they didn't understand the satire because they didn't understand the genre. But then I think a lot of those fans, if they stuck through it and watched it, started discovering web series because of it, because we talked about web series so much. They probably went, "What the hell's web series?" And they looked it up. So yeah, I think confusion was the main reaction from people who didn't watch it. But then they liked the vampire stuff, but they wanted more vampire stuff. Yeah. We'll talk about shooting yourself in the foot with a concept later.
I guess should we go round robin? I don't want to use all my questions quite yet.
All right, now let's take ourselves over to Mr. Mark Gardner of Sell the Web Series and the upcoming Weird Girls. Take it away.
I'm sorry. I just love the fact that your viewers, bless their hearts, wanted more vampires. Like, they totally missed the point of the entire thing. It's hysterical. I will say, I think that there was a certain level of, I think this was very niche for web creators. I'm not sure how much of that will translate to someone who's new to the genre or new to the web space. I love it. I'm a web creator. But would my aunt get it? Would she get all those inside jokes? I don't know. It's very... It seemed to me that it was very specifically targeted for creators like me, or even filmmakers. Inflating the stakes. Love it. Oh my god. But having said that, and this kind of, correct me if I'm wrong here, your idea for this was just going to be a one-shot deal. I know you left the room for the sequel, but did you really see a sequel coming, or was this a mini-series, if you will, or were you looking to have continuing seasons of this?
Well, we sort of, by virtue of the satire, have to leave it open for a sequel. because pandering. But we do actually have sequels planned. The whole idea was to add a monster every season. My character would go through the different stages of monsterdom. So, not to give too much away, but the next one would be Vampire, Zombie, Werewolf, Monster, or Frankenstein. And then Vampire, Zombie, Werewolf, Frankenstein's Mummy, Vampire, Zombie, Werewolf, Frankenstein's Mummy's Ghost, all that kind of stuff. So my character goes through these things every season. But I don't know if we'll ever get that far.
I so love that idea. I mean, it's just fun. I mean, I would love to see what you can do with that. Again, I don't know. I don't know if the feedback has been strong enough for you to do that or not. I don't know, but no.
It's too expensive. I mean, yeah, because it's so niche for web series people, and that was who our audience was. But there's not a lot of those people.
No.
And we sort of my idea was sort of to make it not for now, but to make it for later. Do you know what I mean? Like, in 5 years from now, people might look back on it as like a little time capsule of where the industry was, and if they're curious about it, they'll understand what was going on. Because it's not even going to be current for a few more years. The whole industry is going to change, and it won't even be current anymore.
I was actually thinking that about the whole satirical aspect of it, and I don't want to make it sound like the space is this huge, awesome thing and everything. I can't think of anything that more directly and effectively satirizes the creators in this space and the industry, in this burgeoning industry, than this. And I think it's important. I think satire is important. And this one, BZW, to me, is the first thing and the only thing I can really think of that effectively satirizes what we're doing in this space. And I do think, like, a few years from now, I think people will be able to look back on this and say, oh, I get it now.
That guy was thinking.
That's,
Yeah. He was first. That's what I want people to say. He was the first one to satirize our industry.
You're the first one to affect. I mean, there are people who have done it. There are people who make stupid jokes about oh, nobody watches web series or anything. Yeah, whatever. You can make stupid jokes all day, but to effectively satirize something, you're the first person I know of that has made a real effective satire of this space. So,
well, and it's funny because I even threw in a satire of those stupid satires. At the end, I threw in Felicia Day's name just specifically for that purpose.
Yeah, that's good. It was good timing. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it's effective. I think you are the first, and I will put it down in my little notebook that you're the first.
Put it on Wikipedia.
Okay. Do you have a wiki? I'll do it right now.
Don't.
Oh, come on.
They keep banning us. They don't trust our friends for putting our stuff up.
I'll try to put one up.
We got into a battle with one of the Wikipedia people, and we just lost everything. Like, anything that has to do with us is gone. Always. Even if we don't put it up.
That's weird. I don't know what to tell you then.
Those guys can be fascists.
What? No, not Wikipedia.
I know.
You realize this is
Communist
recorded, right?
fascist.
This is going on the internet, right?
So
that's enough for me right now, James. I'll let you go over there and ask your questions. Did we lose James? Hello?
is James gone?
No, I'm here. First of all, I'd like to say that we here at Post Mortem love Wikipedia. It is the most wonderful internet education encyclopedia ever. The views and opinions expressed by Robb Padgett are not necessarily those of Tyghtrope, Mark Gardner, Matt Newcomb,
let me make it
James Fernandez, Tanya Einen, Steve Lekovich.
I love Wikipedia. Okay. I just don't like one Canadian dude who works at Wikipedia.
Man, okay, well, again, if I can, I'm going to have asterisks all over the screen. I'm going to use After Effects so they're glowing, so we know what's up. For me, the first thing I wanted to ask was, I don't know if it was maybe just something with the blip player or something, but was there a lot of ADR in the first few episodes?
Well, the first episode, yes. There's some ADR at the very beginning.
Okay, because I noticed the slight phasing between the audio, especially Steve's dialogue. I think when he's coming down the staircase, I noticed
that part is all because we didn't shoot enough of it. I had to pull the audio, and that was our first day, and the guy running the boom is a great guy, but he doesn't do that for a living, so it wasn't perfect.
Just a matter of inexperience.
And the camera was so far away, there was no place for him to get, and we just didn't shoot enough of it. Because usually I'll bring in the audio from another take, and just, actors have a tendency to say their lines the same way each time, even if they don't think that they are.
Exactly, yeah. So you can use the audio from a different scene on a particular scene, yeah.
The good ones do, right. And then episode 4, the entire kitchen sequence, the entire kitchen scene is ADR.
Okay, I only noticed it wasn't just a syncing issue, but I also noticed every once in a while I heard, I don't know if it was a sound booth or what you recorded it in, but I could actually hear the ambience of the room you were recording the ADR in was different from the sound that was pulled, say, from the room itself in a different part of the episode.
No, that's actually not the room you're hearing. It's me trying to match the room, but again, that was at the very beginning of the process, and I got much better as we went on.
Yeah, and I was able to tell. Like I said, it was only in the first few where I noticed that.
Well, it's only that first episode where there's any ADR. There's none in the second and third.
Oh, but there was some in the fourth,
at the
right?
kitchen in the fourth, but that whole scene is ADR.
Okay. I did want to ask the brilliant, again, my personal hero, Balthazane. Where did Balthazane come from? Because he made me very happy. Even when he was insulting me.
That's true. He did insult you, yes. Balthazane came, I think, in fact, the only one Balthazane hasn't insulted yet is Matt. But it might be coming. Balthazane came from, once we realized it was going to be meta web series stuff, we had to have a web series critic in there. And originally, the vampire that turned Tad wasn't Balthazane. It was originally some other vampire that he chased down. And then I decided to make that Balthazane later, because Balthazane didn't come in until Steve's scripts in 7 and 8. Steve wrote those, and so he named Balthazane, and but Balthazane was my creation that we brought into the beginning. So that's where it came, just to be meta. And then we had the idea after we started shooting to have him review the show he was in. So. That's where that came from.
No, I liked it. Now that actually brings me to my next question, which was what I really liked about the execution of VZW was a lot of the peripheral stuff. Balthazane's reviews, both the video versions and just the text versions, things like that. What brought about that idea? What inspired you to want to sort of spread out sort of peripheral stuff onto the show itself?
Well, part of it came from that huge gap that Matt was talking about between the first 3 episodes and the next 3 episodes. And then there was another gap for the last 3 episodes. Originally, it was going to be all the way through. The whole series was shot at once. It was going to be all edited at once. But then I ran into a really huge problem. Episode 4's front audio was not unusable, but it was terrible. And then the makeup we used for episodes 7 and 8 and 9, where they're werewolves, was just terrible. The guy who did it is a friend of ours, and he's talented, but we didn't give him enough time, and we didn't put enough effort into it, and so I had to go through frame by frame and digitally fix every makeup seam that they had on their cheeks and around their eyes and their nose.
Ouch.
And all that in After Effects with motion tracking and keyframes. And that took me a month and a half.
Oh my god.
Yikes.
Yeah, so that's what happened there.
You digitally, every makeup shot you had to go through and work.
And take out the seams from the foam rubber. Yeah.
Wow.
So if you go back and you look closely, you'll see it's blurry. I just used a blur filter, and so you'll see that their faces are kind of weird and blurry. And that's what that.
Did you have to motion track?
Yeah, I had to motion track it all because I created not just keyframe masks, but because I was using After Effects 3, you couldn't travel the masks, so I had to make I had to do alpha channels and all those, mats, traveling mats for them. So it was a lot of work. What?
Upgrade.
I did upgrade now.
Yeah.
Now you could do it in 1/5 of the time.
I know.
Yeah, so only 112 hours instead of 572 hours. Yeah.
So that took a long time. So we did the Balthazar stuff to kind of do as filler, but it was sort of pseudo-planned, like the toolbox stuff was sort of pseudo-planned as well.
All right. That pretty much covers my questions at this point. Did you have questions you want to ask, or were there follow-ups from someone else?
Yeah. So go ahead.
I have a follow-up too.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'll sit down. I'm ready for questions, please. Let me point out one thing. I'm curious because I think I noticed this, and I'm not sure if I'm right. I wanted to go back and watch it. I didn't get the chance. But there were some parts in there, and I'm not sure if this is right, where I was really a little confused on the continuity. The one thing in particular that I'm thinking of is near the end when they turned into werewolves and they ran off. They were talking about how they were upstairs and they were going downstairs. When they were upstairs, they were in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Wasn't the kitchen downstairs?
No, the kitchen's upstairs, and that's one of those things that it's like a split level.
Okay.
It's a 60s style split level, so it's like kitchen and living room on the main floor, and then downstairs to that rec room area with the bar, and then upstairs to the bedrooms. So we probably could have been a little clearer.
I wasn't sure of the space because in my head I always had that being downstairs. It seems like whenever she brought in food earlier, she was coming in from a downstairs room. And
yeah, she was coming. Actually, you probably couldn't see it, but there's little stairs there. It's just like a little half staircase that she was coming out of.
Little things I missed. So that makes a lot of sense. I was like, he's not going to do something like that. He's not going to shoot something downstairs that's clearly
and say that it's upstairs.
Yeah, no. So okay.
We probably should have just not said upstairs or downstairs at all. I mean, that's just a flaw in the script.
I would have fixed it, but it was a little thing like that. But now that you kind of explain the space and I can see the space in my head, yeah, no critique there.
My question was related back to the Balthazar stuff. I think I already kind of know the answer to this question, but...
Oh, no, we did, man. Sorry, we did your show. I forgot. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. What I was going to say was, you did a lot of really good extra content and everything, and you even got nominated for the extra content you did for the IEW TV Awards. I was just curious, what did you see? Were they effective in keeping people's attention? And how did they compare to, let's say, releasing a actual episode?
No, they weren't effective in keeping people's attention. And I'll say this to everyone: you have to have episodes. They're really neat. I mean, they're cool, and I think they're neat. And I like the Balthazar reviews that Steve and I wrote. And I like the Balthazar little things that we had improvised, that we shot, and I like all the toolbox stuff too. It's fun. It's nice ancillary world building stuff, but it was no substitute for episodes. People just didn't watch them. And so I thought it might help maintain momentum with that and behind the scenes stuff and all that kind of thing, but it doesn't really. If you're not putting out episodes, the momentum kind of dips.
That's what I had been seeing as well. So I just wanted to figure out how it worked for everyone else.
Well, and that's the news for any web series creator out there is don't think that your extras are going to hold your audience completely. They'll hold some of them, and they'll be interesting, and they'll kind of keep you alive on Twitter or whatever, but it's not momentum.
Yeah.
Although I also say if you lose enough momentum, at one point it doesn't matter. You can just come back whenever you feel like it.
That's my strategy.
Well, and I think it's going to work with Hollywood Wasteland because we haven't forgotten about it. People will be like, "Oh yeah, that's right." I mean, you made it. It's there. It exists. It's always going to be there. So, like, even if Mark wanted to do Cell season 2, people would be excited for it, even if you haven't been doing stuff up until now, just because it's still there. You can still go back and watch it.
Great thing about the web.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's always there for people to discover every day. You find new people that just discovered your show for the first time.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
I was sort of hoping that it would get us more attention for the Balthazar stuff by doing web series reviews, that more web series people would talk about it, but they didn't. I don't think they... Some people didn't know it was us, and some people didn't know what to make of it. They didn't know if he liked it or if he hated it, and which was sort of the point. I mean, the point is that he likes all of those things. If he didn't like it, he wouldn't review it. But some people don't quite know that. So I don't know what they thought.
It might be a little confusing if you're some other show and you send your audience to go see this strange review of them that's in the context of a show they aren't familiar with.
Right, and it makes it sound like the shows are really dumb or they're doing something wrong when they're not. You know, all the things that Balthazar hates about the shows are usually the good things about the shows.
Yeah.
So that's, if you read Balthazar reviews, the stuff he doesn't like is the good stuff, and the stuff he hates is the stuff he loves is the stupid stuff, or the bad stuff, or not even bad, not bad in the show, but bad in the world.
All right, what questions did you have for us, Rob?
I had a question about the scale of the story and the vampires. Was that whole thing a big letdown at the end? I couldn't figure out if the scale was appropriate, or if the story got too small, or if it was breaking out, or if it got too, you know what I mean? Am I making any sense? No?
I think it definitely fit with the tone of the entire piece. I mean, I think, you know, your fans that wanted more vampire stuff might have been let down, but I think, you know, at least for people that were maybe a little more in on what you were trying to do, because I remember that's how you sold it to me, is like, you know, vampires are cool, so we're making it about vampires and everything. So, you know, I think it definitely fit with you know, the message you were trying to tell.
Because the people who wanted more vampires I think may have gotten to me a little bit. They were like, they didn't feel the vampires had much of a point, and that was my point. But
yeah,
I don't know if they got that.
That goes back to the satire thing. It was effective satire. It wasn't meant. You're not meant to feel threatened by these vampires. I'm not going to worry about the fact that I don't really feel threatened by these vampires. That's not the point of the vampires. So, I mean, of course, look at us being film critics right now.
I know. Yeah. But honestly, is anybody really threatened by any movie vampires anymore?
Not anymore.
They're not very scary.
Well, 30 Days of Night, maybe.
Oh, yes, okay.
Something like that. No, never mind. Continue.
And I wanted to ask if you guys actually read or watched the ancillary content at all when it came out.
Well, I proudly had an argument with Balthazar, a fake argument that meant nothing. I thought that was pretty fun. I was actually surprised that there wasn't more interaction from some of the other show creators, and maybe that leads back to your thought that maybe some of them didn't get exactly what was going on. I got the joke and I loved it immediately. After it took me a bit to be like, wait a minute, they all get Blair ratings. They're all the same ratings. I love that stuff. But I checked it out. I loved it. Tad doing the theme song, probably my favorite piece of bonus material, especially with the backgrounds and the hilariously tinny organ music. That was probably my favorite piece of the ancillary stuff.
Steve played that organ thing live.
Wow.
When he recorded, because he did that. He made that video. Nice. And he's got this Casio that if you've ever watched Live from the Inside, episode 8, you will have seen. It's a boombox with a little keyboard on the front of it, like from the 80s. And he doesn't have any sound mixing equipment on his computer, so he played that to the singing and ran it through the computer. So that's actually him programming.
Yes, as soon as I heard the samba/bossa nova backing beat, I'm like, yeah, that's Casio 80s, man. I love that stuff.
Yeah, and that came from an 80s Casio. It's authentic.
That's what you need. So that was the ironic thing. That was the one authentic, true piece going on in the satire. I like it.
Right.
I had watched a few of the reviews and read a few of them as well. Not just the one that was And yeah, it was funny stuff. I don't know. I guess I was trying to think what would be rewarding extra content for people. I actually, when James was talking, it made me think. When he was saying he had the fake argument, I was like, I wish, we would have. I could have thought ahead more to start a bigger back and forth between the shows. I think that would be pretty interesting to see.
Well, and I'm thinking about bringing him back to do web series reviews of current web series, even though VZW is.
Yeah, he could be a standalone show very easily, and it'd be really entertaining.
But did anybody watch any of the Toolbox stuff? Did that ever make it out there much?
I didn't watch the Toolbox stuff. I read some of the reviews and watched some of the videos, but I honestly didn't see any of the Toolbox stuff.
Because we made extra episodes of some of those web series from episode 5. We made an episode of Sandwiches, and we made another episode of Wearonauts, and
I had no idea that stuff's out there.
Yeah, that stuff's out there. It was almost like a medley. I remember that video. Yeah, it was a medley of all the things that they had been talking about in the series itself.
Right. So
I missed that.
yeah, there's extra episodes of certain things.
Actually, when you started talking about the Toolbox stuff, I was confused because I hadn't heard of that before.
Yeah, it's at tlbxfilms.com, I think is what it's at.
But I will say, I love the I love that montage of all the different series or shows that they worked on. I thought that was one of my favorite parts of the entire series. So
Sandwiches is brilliant. Sandwiches is brilliant. Sandwiches is brilliant. The lifeguard witch running away from the water is awesome.
Yes, that was a. I liked that one too. That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite things in the whole show too. Those little web series.
It was almost like a KATR Pictures upfront.
It sort of is, yeah. And we got good locations. We actually got to shoot in Panavision, the camera rental place. So the Wearonauts is actually where the cameras are being rented, and they were prepping stuff while we were actually shooting. And you can't hear it, but they insisted on playing music. It's like, we're trying to shoot over here, and we're just like 20 feet from them.
Nice.
But they had a show to prep, I guess.
Whatever. And in their careers.
We actually shot Mum EMT also out there at Panavision.
Oh my god, I can't believe I missed these. Look at them. Zombie Coroner.
Yeah, second episode, yeah.
Sandwiches. Ah. Now I got
They're not as good as the episodes that are in the show. We improvised them kind of last minute.
Going back to the extra content, what I guess you know all the stuff on the views. Like, what stuff did the best? Was it the Balthazar reviews? Was it the comment or the commentary episodes? Was it because I listened to a few of the commentary episodes too, or was it the I know you guys did like a couple. You did a holiday video and stuff. Like, what out of all that stuff, what did people respond to the most?
The ones that people responded to the most were Balthazar, because it had a pretty good Twitter movement.
Mm-hmm.
Due mostly to people like Venice Riley, who loved him, and would talk about him a lot. And the Indie Inner Tube ladies, they liked Balthazar too. And the Christmas video. Those were the things, the ones from the producers. Those were the things that we got the most traction on.
Okay.
And I don't know why. I mean, I understand Balthazar, and I think we designed him to be popular, but then we designed the whole show to be popular. So things don't always work out as planned. But the Christmas one, people just must have, I don't know, struck a nerve with some people. They like it.
Cool.
So I'm reluctant to have this thought process, but I'm going to anyways because I just finished saying, it's satirical. I'm not worried about the stakes of whether these vampires are really a threat kind of thing. One thing that I noticed through here was that your character, did we ever learn the name? Because I can't remember the name. Didn't think
he doesn't
so.
have a name.
Good. So you, there were a lot of times, probably 2/3 of it, where it didn't do anything. And there were times when I thought he could have and really added something to there. Again, what kind of critique is that? Because it's satire. That's not what I'm focusing. I'm not focusing on whether this character has motivations or anything. There was just one shot in particular that really stood out to me, where the three of you were in the kitchen, and Bunny and Tad were talking for an extended period of time, and you were in the background standing, listening. For an extended period of time. I'm like,
why doesn't he run?
Anything. Why doesn't he do something? You know, the first half of the series, he really didn't do anything.
That,
I don't know.
That was actually an artifact from the original concept of the show. Was my character comes in, finds out they're vampires, and is just freaked. He freaks out so bad that he freezes. He doesn't know what to do. He can't do anything, so he's just a lump. And that was going to be the thing, you know, the real reaction people have, not, oh my god, they're vampires, we must figure out how to get out of here. It's like, if vampires really existed, I mean, that's a life-altering event. It's like discovering that aliens are real and they're just hanging out. You know, like, your whole paradigm, your brain's paradigm shifts. And that's what we wanted for him. Now, part of the problem was that, since I was directing, I wasn't doing a very good job of acting in those moments. But that was what it was left over from, and I go back and forth. That's one of the questions I had too, is should I have done something else? Could I have designed my character a little bit better? But it was part of the satire, but I think in the end it may have actually brought the show down just a tiny bit in some places. Like I should have tried to escape once.
I'll agree with that to a certain extent. Yeah, I think that there probably could have been something more with your character, and I think really if we had seen him be a little more active and get him a little more into the story, I think that the end would have been even more effective. You know, so
right.
I don't want to give a spoiler away, but yeah. That was just one thing that I noticed. I wish I brought it up earlier, but it was the one thing that stood out to me is that probably for the first 5 to 6 episodes, there just wasn't anything going on.
I have one episode, and I have one line in episode 2. I have one line in episode 3, and I have, I think, 2 lines in episode 4.
Okay, so the first 4 episodes.
Right, and then in episode 5 is where I first really start kind of speaking. So it was like this, I had an arc that was, he didn't speak, and then he slowly, gradually gets comfortable with the whole situation until he eventually embraces it right before the end of the show, the series.
And I did really like the way he presented it, where, you know, yeah, it is life-altering, and I love that when, like, the first thing he said was, like, if you're real, is God real? I mean, yeah, that makes sense. That's the kind of thing that's going to go through a person's mind. So yeah, I get that.
But yes, but I totally, it's tough because I think I might have been able to find, and I'm going to blame my acting on a little bit of it. I think if I could have found a performance that was in the middle of that, I think I could have bridged that. I think I could have made that work better. But it's tough, yeah. I don't know what to do about that. And it could be a flaw in my concept.
Or probably just a case of wearing 2 hats. I mean, and that comes up when you're in that kind of situation. I mean, that's not the first time I've heard of that. When you're in front of and behind the camera, of course, it's splitting focus, splitting energy, etc., etc.
Well, I'm usually a better actor in my own stuff. BCWs, I'm not very good. But that was one. That shoot was hell. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, 5 overnight shoots. It was terrible.
In a row?
Oh yeah, I lost. If you watch the show, I actually lose 10 pounds in the middle of it over those 5 days.
Ouch.
It was terrible because we didn't really have a crew. We had part of a crew. We had Zoe and whoever she could round up, and sometimes that was one other person. Sometimes it was nobody. Sometimes Zoe and I were down setting up lights while Tanya and Steve were trying to get into their makeup, and there was only me, Zoe, and JD, Jeff Daly, who ran our boom. We were the only ones on the set.
Wow.
So it was tough. And then we only had these 5 days because the homeowner the homeowners were having a baby, and they were out of town, and when they got back, that baby was going to be coming, and there was no more shooting in the house. So we had 5 days to get it off.
Darn babies.
I know, and luckily they let us come back for one pickup day because I almost completely forgot to shoot the vampires. So whenever you see the vampires shot from the back, from where the bar is, if you're looking at the room downstairs, there's a front of the room where we're standing that has all the like curio cabinet with like the Lord of the Rings stuff in it. If you see the vampires shot that direction, that's all pickup day stuff. Because I just told all the close-ups of the vampires, all of the vampires acting is all pickup.
Wow. That's even more impressive considering your time constraints and your production constraints. So well done.
Thank you.
So, the future of VZW, you see anything?
I would actually like to shoot a second season, but I don't think we're going to be able to because in the second season, and I'll give a little bit away here too, maybe for the Kickstarter campaign. The producer makes his story of Tad and Bunny. He goes to shoot his web series of Tad and Bunny, and when they meet, he wants to shoot how they met, and they met in the '80s. And so he wants it spirals out of control into this huge production of this 80s period piece that he makes with gigantic set pieces and big over-the-top stuff just to tell this really tiny love story. And the budget's balloon, and meanwhile, Bunny may or may not be pregnant. So it's all that. That's season. And I'm stitched together as a monster the whole time.
You heard it here first on Tyghtrope Post Mortem. That's an exclusive right there.
Breaking news.
That's it.
What would you say, overall, what would you say were your most difficult aspects of the production that you would definitely, if you could go back and do it again, what would you definitely alter about how you shot it to make sure it was better for everybody?
Oh God, the whole thing. It was just really hell.
Well, we'll do 3 bullet points. What
Okay.
3 things do you think would have benefit the most if you could have changed how you did them?
Planning. The whole scheduling was a mess, and that was all my fault. I think that's actually the only bullet point would just be preparing. I just wasn't prepared enough. I would hire a sound person who knew more what they were doing, and like I said, Jeff was great, but like a professional who had their own equipment and all that kind of stuff, because we were just using our boom plugged into the camera, and then I sweetened it all in post. But that would have been a lot easier. It would have had a better camera, but just scheduling, just trying to get some crew and some makeup, and the makeup person. I would give him more time and resources. That's it.
All right. Do we have any more questions from our panel? Or, Rob, do you have any more questions for us?
I don't, but I'm really happy you guys liked it.
Well, it's good stuff, and the style of writing you have. I'm not sure whose voice it is, or if it's you and Steve.
It's mostly me until you get into. You can always tell it's Steve because really esoteric, large words will creep into the dialogue, and names like Balthazar.
Yeah, but I really love the style that your group has developed and across projects. I love it. So I'm always, looking for more stuff from you guys.
I agree. I love the voice that you guys have, and one of the things I like about it is it's really smart humor. There's plenty of stuff online that's just
very unique.
Yeah, it's very unique. It's very smart. I mean, you have to pay attention and listen to it, and I really appreciate that and like that. So I love the voice of the show. Clearly, I'm a fan. So
good. Well, now I'm glad I made it.
There you go. See, you are loved.
That's right. I'll take that over YouTube views any day.
That was the saddest lie I probably have ever heard.
No, it's not actually a lie. That's the saddest part of all. I will take the appreciation of peers over comments from strangers any day.
I will say the Polish spam ad comment on your first episode on Blip is very impressive and long.
Yeah, I know, it's so weird. I need to delete that, but yeah.
I found it strange when my Google Chrome browser was like, "Would you like us to translate this page from Polish?" I'm like, "I can read everything in English. What are you talking about?" Yeah. Translated, looked at the bottom, and there's a weird spam ad for $20 to surf. Very, you're loved in Poland, apparently.
They think we're relevant enough to spam. I think
absolutely. That's a good vote of confidence. Thanks, Poland.
Yeah. Well, Steve's Polish, so.
Oh, so we have him to blame. Okay. All right. Are there any other comments from our evaluators this evening? Matt just typing some smack.
Maybe that too.
We'll go check Twitter now.
See, now they're going to start saying what they really think on typing. I see how this works now.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to a close for our second post-mortem. Again, today's show was Vampire Zombie Werewolf, which is available on blip.tv, as well as the KATR Pictures YouTube channel, if that's what you prefer.
You can also go to KATRPictures.com and find out more about our shows.
You can also go to KATR Pictures, and that's also all their stuff, Life from the Inside, Turning a Profit, Life's Little Ultimatum, which were, I believe those are both Celebrate the Web, weren't they?
Yep.
So also they Celebrate the Web materials. And I want to thank again our panel. I want to thank Mr. Matt Newcomb, creator of Hollywood Wasteland. I'd also like to thank Mr. Mark Gardner, creator of Sell the Web series and the upcoming Weird Girls. Golf clapping, very, very fancy. I'd like to also give a very big thank you to our presenter this evening, Mr. Robb Padgett, on behalf of KATR Pictures.
Yeah.
The show Vampire Zombie Werewolf. Aw, that's so precious. Thank you very much for viewing our show tonight. If you have a web series that you may want to have evaluated, or you want to join the rotation of evaluators for our future shows,
do it.
I have now put the website up on, or the email up on the screen for you. Join the party. Hopefully you've seen both these. You can see what it's about. It's critical analysis. This isn't roundtable insults. We're not here to play any kind of games. We just want to tear apart some web series, have a really good discussion about them. And if you want to be part of it on either side or both sides, we can do both. There's contact points. We'll also be try to spread the word out as best we can. And hopefully we'll make this a wonderful series to help tear apart the world of web television.
Do it.
And that is, Robb Padgett has commanded thee to do it, so you will do it. Or Balthazane will come and review your life. And it will not be pretty. Thank you very much again, gentlemen. I will hope to see everyone soon. This has been Tightrope Postmortem. I am James Fernandez. I am the man to blame. Have a good night.